Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that impacts every single one of us, sleep. But we're going to go way beyond just feeling tired or rested. We're going to dig into the really deep connection between how you sleep and your metabolism and why your time in bed is much more of a high-performance tune-up than just a timeout. You know, it's pretty wild when you look at how much our sleep habits have shifted. If you go back to the 1960s, people were on average getting more than 8 hours of sleep a night. Now, fast forward to today, and that number has just cratered to around 6.5 hours. Think about that. In just a couple of generations, we've chopped off a huge chunk of our nightly rest. And that kind of leads to the obvious question, right? So what? It's just an hour, maybe an hour and a half less. How big of a deal can that really be for our health? Well, it turns out the answer is it's a huge deal. And to really get why, we need to pop the hood and take a look at our body's engine. To really understand this whole sleep connection, we've got to start right here with our metabolism. This is the biological powerhouse that fuels, well, everything we do. Metabolism is a word we throw around all the time, but what does it actually mean? Well, at its core, it's really just the grand total of all the chemical reactions happening inside our cells that keep us alive. It's what lets us grow, repair ourselves, and just, function day to day. But here's the thing. Metabolism isn't just one process. It's really a dynamic balancing act between two opposite forces. On one side, you've got catabolism. Think of this as the demolition crew. It breaks down complex stuff, like the food you eat, to get energy. And on the other side, you've got anabolism. This is the construction crew. It takes that energy and uses it to build new things, like muscle and other proteins. It's this constant cycle of breaking down and building back up. So where does sleep fit into this whole picture? Well, it turns out that our nightly rest isn't downtime at all. It's actually a critical period where our entire system gets a full metabolic tune-up. It's anything but passive. See, when we're getting a good night's sleep, our body isn't just off. It's running a very specific maintenance program. Our overall energy use drops way down, sure, but at the same time, other very precise processes are kicking into high gear. Your blood sugar rises in this very controlled way. Fat storage actually peaks, and your muscles start using less glucose. It's a beautifully orchestrated state, all designed to conserve, repair, and rebuild. So this is really the key idea to hang on to. Sleep is not just passive rest. It is an active and very precisely controlled metabolic process. It's just as vital to our health as the air we breathe or the food we eat. Okay, so if sleep is that important, how are we breaking it? It turns out that our modern world throws a wrench into this finely tuned system in 3 big ways. The research really points to 3 main offenders. First, the most obvious one, just not getting enough sleep, which for most of us is anything less than 7 hours. Second is what's called circadian misalignment. This is when your internal body clock is totally out of sync with the outside world. Think shift workers. And third is obstructive sleep apnea, a condition where your breathing literally stops and starts all night long, completely wrecking your sleep quality. And the consequences of these disruptions? They go so far beyond just feeling a little groggy the next day. We're talking about a whole cascade of negative effects that start happening deep, deep inside our cells. And the stakes here are incredibly high. I mean, just look at this number, 2 times. Massive studies show that people who consistently sleep too little have roughly double the prevalence of type 2 diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. That is a staggering link you just can't ignore. But how does that even happen? What's the biological domino effect that connects a few missed hours of sleep to a really serious metabolic disease? Let's trace the chain of events. So the first mechanism is stress. When you don't get enough sleep, your body basically thinks it's in danger. It activates its main stress response system, which then floods your body with the stress hormone cortisol. And it does this especially in the evening, when cortisol is supposed to be low, which directly messes with your body's ability to manage blood sugar. Second, not sleeping enough fans the flames of inflammation. It causes a big spike in these pro-inflammatory markers, creating this kind of simmering, low-grade inflammation throughout your entire body. And we know for a fact that this kind of chronic inflammation is a major, major driver of insulin resistance. And third, your fight or flight response, your sympathetic nervous system, gets stuck in the on position. Now, this state is great for, running away from a bear, but it's terrible for long-term health. It completely disrupts how your body handles both sugar and fats, pushing your whole system further and further out of whack. Okay, so we've got stress hormones, we've got inflammation, and we've got a nervous system that's totally on edge. Let's put all the pieces together and look at the big picture. Let's connect these paths. Not getting enough sleep hits you with that hormonal stress and inflammation. Shift work throws your internal body clocks completely out of sync, and sleep apnea literally starves your body of oxygen and shatters your rest. But notice where they all end up. All three of these pathways lead to the exact same problem: impaired glucose homeostasis. Or, in simpler terms, your body loses its ability to properly manage its blood sugar. And this table really lays it out perfectly. Each of these sleep disorders kicks off its own unique brand of chaos, but they all converge on these dangerous metabolic consequences, like insulin resistance. It's basically three different roads, all leading to the same, very bad destination. So here it is, the crucial takeaway. Chronic sleep disruption pushes your body into a metabolic state that looks shockingly similar to type 2 diabetes. And here's the real kicker from the research. Studies have shown that even just a few nights of poor sleep can temporarily put a perfectly healthy person into a pre-diabetic state. That's just how powerful and how fast this connection really is. Which leaves us with a pretty big and pretty critical question to think about. In our 24/7, always-on world, a world that seems to celebrate productivity over rest, are we actually forgetting one of the most fundamental requirements for just being healthy?